So we're at week 13. So 3 weeks left, actually less than 3 weeks after today. OS2, 13th. The work on the users, anything that's left to be done there, that needs to be done this week. MySQL, that needs to be installed. That all needs to be done. That was all due. Okay, so my word is, even with extending circumstances, you need to get this stuff done. Do a good job of documenting. So when I look at your, if you haven't, most people have it turned in. When I look at that, if I can't understand the documentation, then I have to be able to figure out who the user is and what their password is. Okay? Then you're supposed to make a table. You have a table in there. We talked about file systems. That was really a good job. We did some research on file systems, and some of the research was as old as 2011. There was some as new as 2020, and then a little bit of range in between there. These have been around a while. I think this one, 90s, early 2000s. I don't know, I'd have to look it up. But it was good information. Scripting, some people use scripts for their users, some did not. People should know how to use scripts. We talked about the shell problem. We need to be using the bash shell instead of just the sh shell. Talked a little bit about, as you learn more and more comfortable command line, writing scripts are going to be key. Better than, in a lot of ways, more efficiently than working through a GUI. You had a whole course on programming, and so the key is from that you tie that back into using scripts here, and the stuff is not going to go away even in your future use of networks. So a couple of students said it'd be nice if there had been consistency in the naming. That I agree, there would be some advantages to that. Also, there's the advantage, though, that people could decide what naming system they were going to use for their users. It's important to have some autonomy and be able to make some choices when you're making decisions. If you become an IT, working in IT somewhere, you might get some opportunities to help make some decisions that move you forward rather than just always doing what you're told. Yeah, and permissions. Hopefully everybody's set on permissions and so forth. how you set permissions and different, between sticky bit and the default permissions and setting those, the different ways to do that. Some people got it wrong on the tests. They did a plus, others, and I don't know, give them execute or something like that. Well, that's just adding permissions on. If there's permissions that you have to take off, you got to take them off. I prefer the number system, 4, 2, 1, read, write, execute, and then the combination for each of the positions to set it. Backups, you want to back up your machine and your directory from 85 onto work server 3. That's 172.21.0.3, and you gotta let me know if you can't get logged into it. Okay? Users, we talked a little bit about a couple of servers, Apache, MySQL. Make sure everything is well documented. We've talked about having that public HTML. Based on Linux security, you might have to go through and reset the context. That'd be easier to demo if we could be in the classroom with some PCs connecting to their websites. So you don't have to worry about now, but in the future you might have to do that. We can talk a little more about that on Wednesday. And make sure your Apache, there's some of them, I think I went in and I mentioned, you weren't documented very well in terms of did you actually do this? Did you set it up? You have to go in and make adjustments, configuration, depending on, what you loaded. If you, I assume people did Apache web server, and setting it up so all the users can have a website and all the users can have a MySQL database. So, getting the users finished up, anything finishing up on servers that you might have to do, checking accounts for users, and then the backup of your systems, 85, and you want to compress it, your directory on 85 and then your directory on the other machine. You want to compress it, copy it over, do a Chrome tab so it does it every night, would make sense. Or at least, probably every day, every evening, early in the morning. So you'll have to set up a secure connection between the two machines. And then to finish up the day, we talked about cloud services. Just briefly, AWS, Google, Azure. So we have Microsoft, Google, Amazon. So the students split up. There's a few teams and a lot of individuals doing some research in each of those. And then we're going to look at cloud services on Wednesday. We're going to talk about what they found. I've got a little idea on how we'll do that. And then we will look at a project. Some project that has to do with cloud services. I got some ideas, but I'd also like to hear from you. The students, what would you like to do? That is it. Remember, how you finish is important. Very important. That's it.